How's it going, Twitch? My name is Skull, and on behalf of East Asia Soft, welcome to today's stream. Today is Sunday, which means that it's time for me to continue my playthrough of The Letter, out now on Nintendo Switch, and physical copies are shipping. That's right. So, if you want a chance to own this game for yourself physically, head over to Play Asia and order yourself a copy of the game on Nintendo Switch, and it'll be on your doorstep within the next week or two. So yeah, I have had so much fun playing this game so far. This is kind of a horror visual novel. Kind of. It's not really that scary. It's incredibly tame in terms of horror. It's really fun, though. Really enticing. I can't wait to see how this continues to play out. In which case, let me go ahead and move my webcam here and hit the continue button. Where were we? Right, so Roseanne is touring this house. Oh, worth noting, if you don't know what's going on, that's fine. We archive all of our streams on YouTube at youtube.com/EastAsiaSoft. So if you want to get caught up on all of the streams that we've been doing for this game and every other game that I stream, head over there and check those out. So I might as well just go upstairs first. Yeah, Roseanne is, she's the one in charge of the, interior design of this mansion. That's right. The banisters on the grand staircase's landing are solid and at a proper height. Any lower, and they would be trouble. There's a small catch on the carpet, though, but as long as nobody tries to run down the stairs until it gets fixed, things should be alright. And the stained glass? Art. Restored, no doubt in the image of the last Lady and Lord of Ermengarde. Ermengarde! I keep forgetting about that. Or it was supposed to be until Lady Charlotte's fiancé was brutally murdered. Ugh. By a witch. A witch of all things, from what I've read. You'd think the historians of this place would be a lot more scrutinizing, filtering out stuff like that. I'm amused they bothered with it, instead of replacing it with some generic cookie-cutter design. This entire piece alone would have cost roughly 500, even £1,000,000. Lady Charlotte Ermengarde and her beloved. Looking at the mosaic, it's not too far of a stretch of the imagination to believe that the depicted images could be Mr. and Mrs. Wright. It could be easily assumed as such if one doesn't know the history of the mansion. Really, a place like this should be protected by the government as a landmark. But what can I do about it? Walking into the East Wing, I try to go into the theater, but I'm met with an obstacle. The obstacle that is locked doors. 2 doors. 2! And both of them are locked. I'd be frustrated. Would be, if I already hadn't snuck off while the Wrights were having their little business meeting with Miss Cooper before to take a peek. What with what Mr. Wright wanted, we'd have to install a powerful projector, the type they use in cinemas, and a projection screen. Wow, where do you expect to get the film for that? Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. My nose is really itchy right now. Allergy season. The seats would have to be reupholstered if they're to be any comfortable, and the walls will have to be covered in dark material. Paint, wallpaper, or install wall-to-wall carpeting. If it's a theater carpeting, you want that soundproofing. Really, of all the rooms I could be jealous of, it's this one. I could just picture myself in there, watching old kung fu flicks on a weekend-long marathon. Makes me wonder what kind of movies Mrs. Wright would like. Rom-coms, perhaps? Her husband, on the other hand, I'd rather not think about it. In the middle of my notation and planning, I don't even realize that I'm not alone until I'm caught standing in front of a locked door like a fool.
Were you meaning to go in there? I'm afraid we won't be able to open it up today.
Oh well, I wanted to, but it's fine. I can still survey the rest of the place.
Apologies, but the key was missing when they were handed over. They told us that they'd get right back to us with it.
What? But aren't they supposed to hand over all the keys once property changes hands? That can be grounds to file a complaint.
They were already kind enough to let us move in so early. There's no need to raise a fuss about it. Worst comes to worst, we can call for a locksmith.
The air is heavy and somber as she grows quiet and glances out the window. Out towards the vast expanse that surrounded what would be their house. Their home. Then she looks back at me with a sigh and a bitter smile.
Flowers. Yellow flowers. Daffodils, dandelions, and sunflowers and the sort all up front. Just a whole garden of them. They'll make the house look lovely, won't they?
Of course. A garden is a wonderful addition to any home.
As I say this, her eyes roam over me, scrutinizing and thoughtful. I have to hold back the shiver that threatens to run down my spine at being inspected so closely.
Yes, it must be nice.
We're still talking about the gardens, yes?
I mean, not having to worry about what another person thinks of you.
What do you mean by that?
She lifts her hand and points to her wedding ring before it falls listlessly to her side.
Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I didn't marry Luke. There'll be no fights about walk-in closets or silly helipads. I could do with this place as my heart desires until there's nothing but content. Then again, I wouldn't have bought this place if it wasn't a gift for him. I probably wouldn't even be in Luxbourne if it wasn't for him. Maybe I would have moved to London, Manchester, or Birmingham. I might have even left the country altogether. France, Germany, Spain, Canada, Sweden, even America. The possibilities would have been endless.
Sure, place America at the bottom of your list of places to go. I don't know what to say to that. What is there to say?
I'm sorry, I must sound so petty and ungrateful. I do love him. So very much, even if he can be a bit difficult at times.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just confused why you're telling me this, of all people.
Just a whim, I think. Just flights of fancy, that's all. Don't you ever think about one decision you've made in your life and wonder how much would change if you chose to do things differently?
I try not to dwell on the past, ma'am.
The key word is try, of course. Thinking of the past brings up too many ghosts. Memories of her. And I do wonder what would change if I just said yes when she asked for me. Maybe she'd still be with me. I return to the present. Just like I said, I try not to dwell on the past. Her worries seem simple enough. I mean, it doesn't have to be as difficult as she makes it out to be, right?
Why don't you decide on your own?
I meant nothing against Mr. Wright, of course, though whiskey buggered me to no end. By law, she would be the owner of the house. Well, unless they signed a joint property ownership anyway, which is a rare thing as far as I know, especially among these highbrow types. Sure, they could actually love their spouse, I don't doubt the possibility. But money is money, and it makes people do the most horrible things sometimes.
It's your house. You can paint the whole place pink if you want, and there's not much he can do.
The somber expression she had changes to a look of contempt.
I could, but we are husband and wife. Equal partners in marriage, Marianne, though I can see that you don't understand. This is his home as much as it is mine. I'm not going to go behind his back over a room. And how dare you suggest that?
How do I even talk her down without causing further offense? It's in my attempt to shake off my own drama that I end up tripping right into theirs. Because really, I have no business meddling in the affairs of my clients, unless it is involved interior design or architecture. Yet here I am, opening my mouth and yapping. I do hate to see a good woman down.
That's not what I meant by it. I just mean that maybe you don't have to get the approval of your husband all the time.
Why do I keep thinking her name is Roseanne? It's Marianne.
Or well, okay, fine. I know nothing about married life, Mrs. Wright. You're right about that. But I still think you're allowed your indulgences every now and then.
Of course, my form of indulgence meant buying old Slate 78 RPM country records. Wow, that is really hard to say. Records which I don't even dare use with my gramophone. For her, it could very well be buying entire houses.
That's just my take on it. A perfect relationship is as rare as hen's teeth. You got what you got. I mean, you're doing well enough without my advice. Sure, look it.
That looks to placate her, somewhat. She looks away and starts to favor the view outside once more, with a faraway look in her eyes.
Feel free to look around the rest of the house. Everything but the theater should be open. Just call if there's need of me.
I wonder if there's something in the theater. If it's locked up and literally no one can get in there, I wonder if there's something in there that's the key to all of this.
Of course, Mrs. Wright.
I really shouldn't have opened my big mouth in the first place. This sort of thing only gets me in trouble. Keep it clean, keep it simple, stick to business. That's it. Be professional. But I fail to do that just because of a pretty face. When she turns to leave, she glances back at me before disappearing into the foyer. I look out the window from where she was standing, and I move on. Alone with nothing but my thoughts and her.
Finally, some peace and quiet. Thought the old biddy would never leave.
It's utter madness, this hearing things. I reckon it's the stress, though I don't know what exactly I'm stressed about. If meeting Mrs. Wright has really thrown me for a loop, I'd be worried. If I'm developing some sort of psychosis or disorder, well, I'd call a doctor. But hopefully it isn't that. Not right here, and not right now. I mean, it could just be that personal talking cricket, the conscience, so to speak, and I'm only noticing it now. Though if it is, it isn't very helpful. Pushing the dilemma of voices in my head aside, I go back to work. But I can barely make it a few steps before everything tilts and shifts. I don't really stumble, but it feels like I'm being thrown off my feet, and the rest of the world just follows. Though my feet stay firmly on the ground, and even if I stay mostly upright, I feel like I've been heaved and put off balance. I have to close my eyes in the hopes of willing the sudden sense of vertigo away. But when I open them, well, I don't feel any less sick because of the sight that greets me. Blood dripped from the walls and the ceiling, pooling downwards and seeping into the curtains and the carpet. A wave of nausea, stronger than the last, hits me, along with the overpowering stench of blood and gore. I want to bolt. The rational part of my head is telling me to flee. And I would have gladly done it if I asked. If only I didn't hear her.
In here, Marianne. Come on. I have something to show you.
I could have ignored it. Would have ignored it. If I only heard it in my head. But I swear that this time it's coming from one of the rooms. Much further into the study. And I feel compelled to pay attention. I can't just turn around and leave. Not when it's her. I don't even think as I follow the sound of her voice. Lorraine. A college freshman lock, thick as leaves? Lovely Amanda Lorraine Lassefor. Hi, my God, how do I pronounce that? Lasserfiona? Lasserfiona. Wow. Lasserfiona. Lovely Amanda Lorraine Lasserfiona. Blech. Amanda Lorraine Lasserfiona. She was my friend, the only one that I had at St. Sampson's. I was a scholar, the charity case, in a school for privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down on me as if they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all. all except her.
Oh, stop your crying. You know better than to listen to Maeve.
Is that how to pronounce that?
Why I gotta teach that butterface a lesson?
Wait, no, lass. I don't want you getting into trouble with the sisters again.
Relax. It's not like I'm going to stomp her and her lackey's arses flat like last time.
Come on, let's just go back to our dorm room. I don't want to be on my Tobler while you go get yourself punished.
You'll be fine. Gip's there with you.
Lorraine was there when I needed her, through my highs and lows. Having her as my friend made being in a strange school away from my father all the more tolerable. She saw this poor, helpless girl who was kept down and shunned by everyone else, and being the kind soul that she was, she rescued me. So brave, so beautiful. She was something else.
I'll eat all the chocolates stashed away in your closet if you go.
I can get more. Just don't go complaining to me if you get a tummy ache because of that.
Well, you don't want to get detention on a weekend, do you? It's a Friday. We can go to town and have some karaoke. And we can have a go at druids and demons again. You're not going to miss that just because of Maeve, are you?
Maeve? That's how to pronounce that, Maeve. Sometimes I question what I did to deserve a friend like her. In the darkest corners of my mind, where treacherous thoughts lurked, I thought that she only felt sorry for me. Maybe she was just being a good Samaritan, offering a helping hand. And perhaps I had been too selfish to return the favor.
You have a point. I'll just kick her arse on Monday then.
That's not what I mean.
I know what you mean, Em.
Wait, where are you going? You just told me you wouldn't cause trouble.
I still have something to do. Don't worry, it's not like I'm going to burn down her dorm room or something criminal like that. I'm just going to talk to her. Maybe I'll make it so that her room smells like a dog's air biscuit. That'll make it an excellent weekend. I'll see you in a bit, Marianne. Lots of Tobblers.
Because when she told me that she loved me, I couldn't admit that I felt the same way. Not to her, and not even to myself. It was wrong. I was taught that way. Husband and wife, one man and woman. Unclean, impure. I prayed for her and I, for our souls and for salvation. I wanted to apologize for disregarding her feelings so callously. It must have been like a slap in the face to her. But life had gotten in the way. Exams, which were trivial in hindsight now, took top priority. I had to keep my grades up to keep my scholarship for my father. I told myself I would apologize to her when those were over, that I needed to focus first and not let anything distract me. It had been easy when she avoided me like the plague. She was upset, I get that. Oh, that is dripping. I thought I had the time to make things right, but...
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th-year dead, assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
They told us it was an accident. That was the official statement. But I knew better. She was dead because of me.
Maeve had a hook and I kicked the bucket, didn't she? Ding dong, the witch is dead!
She had, though she didn't say which Lorraine.
But at least Maeve had the courage to admit how she felt about me.
I don't even know how long I've been stuck here in a trance. In the mirror, Lorraine smiles at me. She's as beautiful as I remember her. But then... I feel bile rise up in my throat as her clean image warps into how she looked like when they found her dead, lying on the cold, hard ground. Good Saint Dimphna, great wonder worker in every affliction of mind and body, help me! I'm seeing things, hearing things. Am I going completely insane? Looking everywhere but at her, I hope and pray that it's enough to will whatever this is to go away. It doesn't even immediately register in my head that I can just leave.
You, on the other hand, can't even look me in the eye.
This isn't real. You're not. You're dead!
I'm dead. Because of you. And you won't even look at me. Look at me.
My breathing quickens, and I could feel my heart being torn apart by her words.
I'm so sorry, Lorraine.
Look at me!
I can't take it, because she's right. It was my fault. The least I could do is look at what I've done. Lorraine, broken and bleeding, looks at me with such hate-filled eyes. An unnatural smile stretches across her face, and I see only malice in it. Then she lunges as the mirror ripples around her form, the glass parting like the water's surface for her. She grips my shoulders, and I can feel her nails dig deep, sharp, even through the fabric of my clothes.
There you are.
Apologies spill through my lips as tears cloud my vision. But I won't give in to this madness. With every bit of strength I have left, I struggle to get away from her. Fear grips and threatens to choke me. I endure. I escape. And without turning back, I stumble back out. In my panic, I don't even care to look where I'm going. With one hand on the wall to steady me, I just hobble as fast as I can get away from the study. Away from that mirror. Freedom is bittersweet. I'm free from the madness, it seems, as running out into the hallway reveals it to be in pristine condition. But it means I've turned my back on Lorraine. Again. I have no plans of stopping, not until I know I'm safe. And if that means walking back to Luxborn, as ridiculous as the idea is, then so be it. Someone suddenly grabs hold of me, however. Fingers digging deep into my shoulder, and my heart nearly stops. My body seizes, and I nearly scream.
Marianne, you look awful. I mean, not awful, but did something happen? Are you all right?
This is right.
Without thinking, I sought comfort, seeing that it wasn't her. It's a sudden, impulsive thing to do, and had I been in a better condition, I wouldn't even dare of doing such a thing. But I didn't know what else to do. Though I know I shouldn't, her warmth, her scent, they grounded me. She is intoxicating.
Marianne, what's going on? Oh, you're shaking like a leaf.
Tremors run through my body as soon as my mind realized I am no longer in danger. I wanted to cry, scream about what I've seen, but like a scared child, I couldn't control myself. My mind couldn't reconcile with what I had seen. I should just write it off as a figment of my imagination, yet I could still feel her nails cutting into my skin.
Are you sick? Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then. Come on, don't worry, I have you.
A lie. But a whole lot less complicated than telling her I was attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of fear eases off, I feel nothing but shame for my actions. I quickly back away as I clear my throat and nod my thanks.
I think I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started. Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
It seems to placate her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden quickly under another smile. I won't begrudge her for it. That worry. The look on my face must have been a strange enough sight on its own, Even I am still reeling from whatever that was. Her voice still whispers in my ears. After all these years, she's still... No, Marianne. Shaking my head of the thoughts, I drag in a breath, then follow shortly after Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past, it's long gone. Only memories now. And those are things that I can no longer bring back. It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we were only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wright's car and the stars up above us. The sight of them helps me compose myself much more than several minutes of being alone did. The car's engine is running, yet the two still stand out on the lawn. Mrs. Wright is busy, eyes up to the stars. And Mr. Wright, arms crossed, has his eyes down at the ground. It is the crunch of the grass under my heels that brings their attention to me.
About time. What took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne just...
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
See, business is business and they take time, love. You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job? I know we already signed papers hiring you, but I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
I glanced back towards the mansion, knowing what I had seen there. Or rather, who I thought I saw there. Because there's just no way. Not to mention how I acted towards Mrs. Wright, for goodness sake. I should feel the slightest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. This is my chance to turn it down. Make excuses, say I'm not up to the task, that I need to take care of my old sick father. Just pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for a contract like this, and let it go. I should turn it down, but for some obstinate reason, I can't. In the same manner, I haven't let go of her, of the regret that has shadowed me since that day. Much as I hate to admit it, even to myself, seeing her again, the mischievous glint in her eyes, the loose tendrils of her hair curled around her forehead, it's something I've terribly missed. And now that it's here, almost within arm's reach, my father would tell me sometimes you just simply have to go through with it, consequences be damned. And, well, I really don't have any logical reason to say no. At least not something a client like the Wrights would want to hear from a professional designer.
It's certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
You were always determined like that, weren't you?
Hearing her voice once again sends a chill running down my back. I can't wait for this day to be over. From the mansion and through Ann Slim, I rode with them in silence. But as soon as we hit city proper, I asked to be dropped off and bid them good night. I thought it'd be best if I didn't stay too long in confined spaces with either Mrs. or Mr. Wright. Both seemed to cause me serious trouble, and if the project had been any less interesting or grand, I would have dropped it without a second thought. Would have. Should have. Won't. I assure them that my place isn't that far off, and I have a fight off the urge to roll my eyes and groan when whiskey throws me a little smirk. But even in my own home, peace is elusive, as is sleep. I lie awake thinking of what I saw in that mansion, of who I saw. If I so much as hear a single whisper from her, if I so much as see a wisp of her hair, I'm afraid I'll go mad. But none of that happens, and it makes me feel hollow. For 2 nights I've had trouble sleeping. But it's only one morning when fatigue has already let me rest that I'm reminded of what terrifies me so. It's my restless dreams. I see that mirror. The one in the study. And in it, I see her. I see them. Lorraine and Hannah. Hannah and Lorraine.
Poor pathetic Marianne. Work, work, work. She'll work herself to death.
See, she doesn't listen. That's all she did. Look at what happened to me.
They talk among themselves with cruel smiles and venomous tongues. Or rather, to themselves. 2 heads, 1 body. A horrible mockery of these women, as if they were one and the same.
More's the pity. Life goes on and goes out, and she doesn't even see it.
Do you think she'll even realize when she's kicked the bucket herself?
When they say a person has a hard time telling when they're in a dream, it was true often enough. Even with this bizarre sight, even with the obvious implication that this isn't real, I can't help but feel distress.
Likely. Is that any way to live at all? She might as well be dead.
Cruel fate that she's alive and I'm... well...
Though they speak into each other's ear, tones low and hushed, I could still hear them as clear as day. Their whispers pervade the air, heavy and oppressive. They bury and dig into my head like tiny maggots, worming their way into my skull. It is only then that they take notice of my presence. Eyes turn towards me, and I can only feel small under the scrutiny. Caricature smiles etch on their faces, mimicking each other grotesquely.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is.
Have you been looking at us? Spying? How scandalous. Such a naughty girl.
I'm sure you were just waiting for something lewd to happen, weren't you?
Well, that's my job. Good night, everybody.
You know she will not admit it. She thinks it wrong. You've said it so yourself.
Yes. She thought me wrong, impure, abnormal, because I loved her.
My breath hitches and I open my mouth to protest, but they stop me, screeching. The mirror that holds them cracks, lines spidering across its surface.
Do not lie. We know the gluttonous thoughts you try to deny, girl. All those desires you bury beneath that sickening guilt. You act the martyr when you turn the bed you lie in into your own hedonistic hell. You are nothing but a tainted soul with filth-stained flesh held together by falsehood and pride.
They look livid, and when it looks like they would lunge, I wake, feeling like the wind has been knocked out of me. With a groan, I squint and find a certain fluff ball sitting on my chest, looking as pleased as Punch. She is the overlady of the cats, queen of despair and destruction of nice furniture. Though I can't stay mad at Her Majesty because it feels like she did something good this time. I was having a nightmare, and I can't even remember what it was about. Trying to recall leaves a terrible pit in my stomach. Maybe it's probably better that I don't remember.
Good morning, Baruthiel. Who's the good kitty? Are you hungry? Is that why you woke me up?
A content purr comes from my sweet dear before she jumps off the bed and trots towards the kitchen. On the other hand, it takes me a bit more before I roll out of bed and start my day. Mornings before work is always a quiet affair. Shower first, then a mug of coffee and a bowl of oats. Sometimes I do stretches, and I always check my work email. The Wrights will be moving into the mansion today. I don't think the paperwork is officially done yet, but it isn't too far-fetched to think they were allowed to start their move, despite that. Rich people like them will always find ways to get what they want after all.
I'll be leaving you again today, Beth. So you behave and make sure not to shred up my new covers, okay?
She will promise to do exactly that. If you own a cat, you understand that.
And don't worry, I didn't forget tomorrow is Black Cat Day, so I'll throw you a party. But only if you behave like a proper lady.
She barely gives me a glance as I say that, before going back to her own food. Cats. Still better than humans, most of the time. Too bad I have to work with humans. The place is already busy as soon as I get there. The foreman, one that I've recommended the rights for his work ethic, is early as usual. Already he's instructing men here and there with the bigger loads. I have no chance to talk to them as Mrs. Wright appears and greets me with a smile.
Mrs. Wright, I hope everything has been to your liking thus far.
Good morning, Marianne. It has been delightful, and these men have been very helpful. Look at all this. It's so busy here. I'm getting tired just looking at them go.
No complications so far with the movers or the previous owners of the mansion, I hope?
If anything, the only one being problematic is Luke, if I'm to be honest. He can be such a diva, but I do like that about him.
She stops, looking up at the upper landing, where Mr. Wright comes through with two other movers and the mirror from the study.
Oh, do be careful with that mirror. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt because of broken glass. Why are you even having it carried around?
Oh? You did say you didn't want the mirror, and I keep getting distracted by it. If I'm going to turn the study into my office, I'd rather not have it there. Where can we put this?
Well, you are not putting it in our room. Why don't you go, I don't know, put it in the wine cellar for now? We can figure out if we'll store it in the attic or somewhere else later, yes?
You heard her, boys. To the cellar it goes. Mush!
Mush, boys. The movers bring down the mirror one step at a time, no matter how much the man tells him to hurry. An unsettling feeling grows in my stomach as I see our reflection in the bloody thing. And I look away, not wishing to risk anything. If I see Lorraine's image in the mirror now, I wouldn't know what I'd do. I don't have the luxury of privacy right now, and I am not going to break down in front of all these people. As soon as they go into the kitchen, I realize I'm holding my breath. I let out a sigh of relief when I think no one is looking, and I go back to the task at hand. It'll be a terribly busy day, and there's no need for me to even think about anyone else. I talk with the foreman, fill him in which room is which. It seems I'm doomed to not get any significant work done without being interrupted when it comes to these particular clients, however.
Marianne, dear, have you had breakfast yet? Well, I do believe it would be considered brunch at this hour.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Wright.
You must join me. Johans has already been breaking in the kitchen, as they say.
I feel like them having breakfast happened during Hannah's chapter.
I do not see the others settling down for a meal anytime soon. Someone might as well enjoy the food while it's hot. And that someone might as well be us.
I should say no. I really must say no. But the way she smiles at me makes it difficult to do so. Look at how ridiculous I'm being, acting like a silly, nervous schoolgirl with a crush. It's just brunch, and who am I to say no to a client? It would be impolite to do so. It's not like I'm going to agree because of anything other than propriety. I'm not agreeing just because she batted her pretty eyelashes at me.
If you insist.
It really isn't any of those. But it's something about her eyes, rather. She looks like she needs a good talk. A friend. And although I'm not supposed to be chummy with my client, there's no harm in pretending, right? Of course, I've been wrong on many occasions before. Maybe there is plenty harm in pretending that I care. Because pretending I care might lead to actually caring. Being alone in the same room as the missus leaves me reeling as I find myself paying too much attention to her. It seems she's so borderline unhealthy. How much I'm being obsessed, even if it's just by looking. And it's the little insignificant things that I noticed, like the way she plays with her hair or how she smooths down her dress.
Up, higher, come on now.
Whiskey's annoying voice in the other room helps pull me back to the ground. I'm just looking, aren't I? I know that someone like her wouldn't even look at someone like me. Still, there's some time to turn around this bad decision.
I'd really like to thank you for inviting me to breakfast, Mrs. Wright. But I already ate, so I should really go back to work.
Nonsense! You arrived so early, you must not have gotten a proper meal. Sit, sit! I'd situate us in the dining hall, but it is a mess right now.
Her concern is sweet, as is her smile. But I'm really not here for idle chit-chat, something I keep forgetting. We're both distracted when the food arrives, and it's enough for me to say, at least until the meal is over, "Oh man, look at that. That looks amazing." No more, no less, just to be polite. Thankfully, the conversation steers into a topic I'm comfortable with: work. This goes on for a bit, and I can't be more relieved. Most people don't understand calling me a workaholic, but I chose to work in a field I'm enthusiastic about. So what if my career is also my hobby?
But no, really, how have you liked it so far?
Oh, it has been wonderful, believe me. Everything is going smoothly too. It has been a long time since I've worked on something on this grand a scale. Nowadays, everyone is about condos and flats, living in the city where every room is an identical box. Believe me, this is very refreshing.
We lived in a condo before this, Marianne.
I didn't mean any insult.
It's fine, sweetie. Look at you, all frazzled. I was just pulling your leg. Luke wanted that penthouse when we got married, and you can thank him for purchasing this place as well.
Wait, doesn't she own the house? I'm pretty sure. I have no business with it, though. It's theirs to hash out. But apparently, the momentary confusion had been visible on my face.
Don't be fooled. I'm just the treasury. I wouldn't be able to make a purchase this grand without his seal of approval.
I see.
That's it. That's all you have to say.
Yeah. What else is there to it? Without warning, this nice friendly chat devolved into something horrible. Something sad.
But I really don't know what to say, Mrs. Wright. We were talking of no topic in particular, and...
Luke. We were talking about Luke.
About him not eating breakfast with you?
About him treating me as if I were some treasury.
Despite my general dislike of the upper class, I sometimes feel pity for them. They may have all the money in the world where material things aren't a problem, but they don't even see what they've become, where they've ended up, or what they've done most of the time. They're shut in by their own trap, forced to play along with society's expectations, and do anything to stay where they are and to keep what they have. A world where even people feel or are treated like they are mere possessions. When someone is at the top, the only way for them to go is down. I've worked with many Hanas and Lukes and Whiskeys, but I've never been one of them. I don't pretend to understand the world any deeper than that. I merely know what I've witnessed before. She looks lost, speechless at how she betrayed herself. My pity for the likes of her returns. Nothing but pity moves me as I speak before she can say anything else that might ruin or break her.
I won't speak a word, Mrs. Wright. Not only am I contractually obliged to, it would also go against my principles. This is no one else's business but your own, and it should be kept between the two of you. And whoever you wish to seek counsel from.
Please, Marianne. You have to understand. These sort of affairs, if anyone were to know this, they could just twist it and we'll be ruined. All I ask for is your silence on the matter.
The way she practically begs me to keep quiet about it is disheartening. I have no plans of speaking about anything I hear, especially if it is about their private affairs. But the way she looks at me, the way she just expects some sort of fallout because of this, makes my heart clench.
Well, I'm keeping that information confidential as well.
It's not like I have any other choice, do I?
Thank you.
When the last of the food and drink is gone, the door opens as if on cue.
Madam, the photographer from Luxury Living is here.
Ah, this guy.
This was a wonderful meal, Marianne. You're free to return to your duties. I must excuse myself.
It was my pleasure. And thank you for the food as well.
She stands to up and leave, and all I want to do is reassure her again to prove that I am someone she can trust. So when she looks back my way, I didn't fight the smile that found its way onto my face. I feel giddy, but the feeling dies down afterwards as I sober up. Oh well, back to work. Soon enough, I find myself drawn to the kitchen where the Wright butler has returned to. He's already claimed the space and telling movers to back off, and none dares to question his proclamation either.
My kitchen. No kinder allowed. Little men running around with knives especially. We do not want any accidents to happen now, do we? Good? Good.
I mean, it is a knife-wielding German standing there. I don't think anyone would be insane enough to refuse his request.
I hope I meet the age restriction, or at least the height restriction, because I'm asking to be let in here.
You are allowed inside, McCulloch, but not the little ones.
A shake of my head and a roll of my eyes is all I give him. It's not like I'm going to be of any trouble to him. I just need to look around, get my bearings. The breakfast had been distraction enough. I don't even want to think about what we just talked about. I just need to get my head straight and get back to work. The movers work efficiently even when they're left alone, and they do quick work of their responsibilities. The head foreman comes, standing in the doorway, to consult me on this or that, and I have to get help every once in a while. But they pretty much have everything up to standards. They skip lunch entirely, not even realizing when they do so. Nevertheless, all is well as the butler gets to heating up the leftover bubble and squeak from breakfast, and makes a generous batch of fish and chips for them. Most likely simple in comparison to what he serves to the Wrights, but well done nonetheless.
That smells good. Want to wrap up some for me to go?
It's an idle observation more than anything. My thoughts, as they are, preoccupy me.
If there are any left. One can't go wrong with fish and chips. Everyone loves them. Even my husband. And he's American.
I really do hate getting so up close and personal with my clients. It's a distraction. It is obvious to me that I've gotten my priorities all wrong when I can't help but think about what I've heard, what I learned about the Wright couple. These things have a way of creeping up on a person. Thoughts, ideas, whether they are fact or fiction. They creep up and fester, crawl and writhe in a way that twists. I hear giggling, delighted, and mocking. They creep up, and the sensation of fingers ghosting briefly on my arm causes me to freeze and hiss.
Don't!
I half expect her to be there.
Whoa, no need to scream bloody murder.
Oh, you deserve way worse.
It's just me. Quiet down before you break glass.
But it's just whiskey.
Don't do that again. Ever.
I don't like being scared. Though I don't believe in the likes of spooks, being startled is not at the top of the list of things Marianne liked. Lucky for him, I have nothing within reach, or he would have gotten on friendly terms with something, like a rolling pan.
What was with that reaction? Were you really scared? Has Johann's been telling you ghost stories? He just loves to scare people. Isn't that right, Brother Gurium?
The butler's expression is unreadable. I hardly see any emotion on his face to begin with since I started working for the Wrights, aside from vague amusement. There must have been something there, though, judging from Mr. Wright's own content look. The expression on Mr. Wright's face is almost cruel. But neither of them spoke, even as Johans leaves the room to serve the workers their late lunch.
So, now that we're alone, Marianne, what are you so jumpy for?
I was just thinking about all the urban legends the movers have been telling me about this place.
Don't tell me you believe in that tosh. They're nothing but tales made up to scare children. Timmy, Billy, don't you dare go up to that big mansion and get in trouble there. The ghosts are going to get you.
That's a boring way to look at it, but that's usually what it is anyway, no? Like I said, I was just thinking.
It would be a relief, actually, if those rumors of this place being haunted is true. That just means I'm not going bonkers. Hearing, let alone seeing a dead person, isn't exactly the symptoms of a healthy mind. Sure, it means there would be such things as ghouls and goblins, but at least I'd be sane. On the other hand, there would actually be a dead girl walking around.
If you could excuse the inane question, Mr. Wright, you haven't noticed anything weird here?
A simple enough question on the surface, yet I notice the man stiffen as the question leaves my mouth. I wouldn't have noticed it if I wasn't watching his reaction intently, but in his eyes, I see something dangerous.
That depends on your definition of the word weird. Are we still on the topic of this place being haunted? Because no, things have not started to fly around and we have yet to require an exorcism. I don't think my head would like to do the whole 180-degree turn thing.
That sounds unhealthy.
Well, maybe that, but no strange people?
Aside from my usually weird butler and all the weird men traipsing around touching my things? No, not really. Why do you ask? Have you noticed anyone strange while you were here? Because you must report it to Johans and he'll have security handle it. But these reports better not be about ghosts and things that go bump in the night. I don't want to waste manpower on the boogeyman or senseless witch hunts.
I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Wright. But no, it's nothing like that. I guess the mansion is just strange for me. It's a unique project.
No strange men or women lurking about then?
A dead teenager would technically qualify as strange. But yeah, the whole I see dead people thing isn't going to go over well.
None that I know of. But I'll inform Johans immediately if something comes up.
I'm serious, Mint. You see anything, anyone suspicious, and you report it. Immediately.
I think that goes without saying.
The concern he has on the talk of security is quickly gone. His arrogant, smug smirk returns, if a bit subdued. Whatever smarmy remark or innuendo he has at the ready never comes, though, as voices from the dining hall ring out.
So, is this a full-time job for you then?
Nah, I just freelance mostly, for magazines, newspapers, and events. So you can't really call it a full-time job. It's fun and it puts food on the table, but it's not what I really want.
Oh, that's Zach.
At least not all the time.
That would be the magazine photographer, I presume. As always, Mrs. Wright talks in such a kind and cheery fashion, no matter who she's talking with. It certainly puts people at ease around her. It sounds like it's working on the photographer, too. Hearing them, though, seems to put Mr. Wright in a sour mood. At least if his small scowl is anything to go by. Is he jealous?
You're not gonna go out there and join Mrs. Wright? You're starting to look strained. If you want your picture taken so badly, I'm sure the photographer would oblige.
What is it that you want to do then?
Film. Documentaries mostly. But cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on the scene, actually.
We need to get you away from the butler. You're starting to sound like him. No, I'm not joining Hana for an interior design magazine photo. What am I, a piece of furniture? Look, did a lot of you have anything else crucial to do today? Marianne?
There are still some little things to do. It isn't the end of the day yet.
Yes, but you're paid hourly, aren't you? Per day? Really, I don't care. You and the others can just take off for the day.
Why is he dismissing us early all of a sudden? Is this about a possible security threat? Did my question get him all wary and paranoid that he would just send the workers and I away? I realize that threats are of actual concern to these rich and powerful people. I imagine whether anyone wants to or not, they get a few enemies here and there. But I'm sure the foreman and his works can be trusted and are of no threat. Well, at least I trust the people I'm working with. I understand if he doesn't. He doesn't know them from a can of paint. Still, won't it be safer if there are people around who can watch their back?
You're the boss. My being paid by the day aside, I won't be held responsible for any significant delay caused by your decisions. I'll try to get around that, of course, but I'll just remind you of the fact.
Whatever, take forever with the house. I don't give a bloody damn. Don't you worry, you're still getting your money. Just sod off, go crawl around a pub and find yourself a good lay.
Jeez, where did this come from? Paranoid or aggravated as he might be, this conversation certainly didn't have to warrant that sort of remark.
Maybe I will.
Walking out of the kitchen, I just accept the fact that whatever he says will go while under his roof. Mrs. Wright and the photographer are still far too busy in conversation to notice me, even as I make my way through the dining hall. Besides, I didn't want to ruin their fun.
Well, it wasn't really a big thing. People didn't like Blue Fonzie very much.
People don't like a film about colors. I suppose they would have liked Blue Bibby a lot more.
Going to the foyer has me stumble upon the family butler once more, who raises an eyebrow at my presence.
And where are you off to in a hurry, Miss McCulloch? The foreman is looking for you.
The Bratwurst wants us off the clock. He's dismissing us early because of... Oh, I don't know. He just wants us out of here.
I'll go and call a cab for you then. It would be for the best that you leave when he asks you to.
I don't doubt it. My ride back to the city doesn't take too long to get here. Granted, there were some difficulties at first because the driver didn't know where the Ermengarde mansion is. He tried to have us hand over GPS coordinates from our smartphones or some other techno-babble I didn't care about, and the butler didn't understand. But as soon as we told him it's the haunted mansion over in Anslem Village, he knew just the place, and finally had it over, albeit with some hesitation. All the way back to the city, the driver keeps complaining about that place giving him the willies. It gives me willies too. I would love to snap at him. But as soon as the thought occurs to me, another blossoms in the forefront of my mind. One that has somehow bothered me greatly, more than my exasperation over whiskey and this project, or wanting all of it to stop. There has been no Lorraine whispering over my ears today. Worse, I find myself searching for it. Searching for her. Oh God, I'm not even going to try. Loose ends, freaking bloody loose ends everywhere. What in the world is that? Hang on, this is important. What in the world is that? Damn new rear thee. It's Gaelic for damn her. To the 3 people who watch this and understand Gaelic, I apologize. As a certain famous Irish YouTuber has said, take everything you've ever learned about any language on earth and throw it out the window, and that is how you do Gaelic. I thought I've already moved past this years ago. And it does nothing to help me curb my frustration. If anything, it only ensures that I want a stiff drink. And where else do I go to drink? Tuesdays are for karaoke, and Wednesdays, improv. Usually, it's these 4 guys who did hilarious games. The one with the Irish drinking songs are always a crowd favorite. Though I love a good laugh, stand-up comedy isn't my thing. And without Cam or Haruna or any other distractions, I end up drinking a lot more this time. And when there's several bottles of beer in me, I get really, really embarrassing.
Hey! G! Psst! G, come over here. I need you for something.
It's a good thing that the bartender is a nice fellow. I'd probably have been kicked out of other places by now. Or worse. If push comes to shove, all he would do is give me an easy smile and a shake of his head, even when he's attending to other customers. It's just like now.
Give me a moment, will ya? I gotta go check on her.
He's some Asian guy. And I'm pretty sure I've seen him here before a couple times, although he never talks to anyone else except G. The girls used to be all over him too, but he always turned them away. This is Ash, isn't it?
I'll be here. You go do that before she falls over.
That's exactly who it is. It's Ash.
All right. What is it? Do you need someone to help you get home?
Bartender, pour the wine.
I think that's enough alcohol for you, little missy. I'm cutting you off.
A whine comes from the back of my throat as he pulls my bottle away. I have no hope of getting them back once they're behind the counter. Even in my drunken mind, I don't dare hop over it for them. Because what little sense I have left knows I'd sooner take a floor dive than succeed in wresting a bottle from a sober man. But that doesn't stop me from trying to reach out with my arms like a stupid idiot anyway. He smiles and shakes his head just like I know he would before going back to the other guy.
Right now, where were we? How you holding up, boy?
With no drink and no one to really chat with, I would have gone home or gone to sleep on the bar right there and then. But I'm not ready to stand up and try and trek back home just yet.
Same old. I'm still on the Luxborn firm case.
Those blokes they talk about being in dark suits, whisking people into the night or some shit and all that. Didn't the media call it some ridiculous name in the morning news?
What is it this time? Wait, don't answer that. They've called it a lot of things. As long as people don't start running around claiming they're the Illuminati. So, what have you got for me this time, G? Anything good?
Slow down there. You haven't even told me what sort of dealing dosh we got. Who are you looking into this time?
Their talk would have interested me, would have kept my attention, if I gave a damn. But in my current state, I could barely give two flips about the thing going on around me. All these words are just buzzing, barely surfacing from the sea of sounds that is the pub. It would have stayed that way, perhaps even drowned, if I didn't hear his name.
Luke Wright. You know the guy. And don't pretend like you don't, G. It takes a special kind of ignorant not to know who he is.
That smug blonde who likes throwing round his money. He was just here a few days ago, as a matter of fact. Great tipper, if you think him just dumping a wad of cash on the counter after having too much whiskey counts as tipping. Why are you asking? He dirty?
You have no idea, G. He's probably the worst sort you can imagine.
Luke freaking Wright. Freaking whiskey. Even without him around, I'm still hearing about the guy. What the absolute... Despite this, I find myself getting up and sauntering over to join them before I pipe up.
Is this smart talk about Luke fucking Wright I'm hearing, eh?
Private conversation here, lady.
There's only amusement on G's face. The Asian guy, he starts to look ticked off as hell.
Don't worry, Holmes, she's clean. And she might be able to help you with your, predicament.
Course. A drunk's just stumbled through here with what I need. Get real, G. No offense, lady, but you're smashed.
I know, right? Nothing beats being drunk after a hard day's work.
Debatable.
Especially when you're working for Mr. Luke Wright.
So, she works for the guy? Doesn't that make her, I don't know, suspect?
See, have a little faith in me, why don't ya? I don't have much, and you might as well have something to go off. You're the one who was so desperate to come running to me for business.
Yoo-hoo! still right here, fellas. 5'11", can't miss me. Unlike Shorty over here.
5'11". Wow, I'm 5'9", so she's taller than I am, and she's in heels.
What's it that mad look? You want to dance, boy? You don't look like you can bust a groove. Maybe a leg, but with that fancy coat of yours.
To add insult to injury, I moved directly behind him and used the top of his head as an armrest. But when he shakes me off, I plop into the seat right next to him.
Don't try me. You can hardly stay on your feet. We don't want to ruin your fancy coat, do we?
Ah, children, the both of you. But you're still standing after all that, are you? Matt, you see this giantess? She's a legendary regular here. Been drinking like there's no tomorrow. I'm a bit jealous. Can't do that anymore or my liver will give out on me. Good with the mic, too. Don't see you much recently, but I guess you're always busy, aren't you? You're some fancy designer or something, if I remember correctly.
Wait, I know you. You were at the open house for the mansion.
Yeah, that's right. Marianne McCullough. I'm a famous interior designer extraordinaire. Ooh, that rhymes.
It really doesn't.
Anyway, you guys were talking about that weenie Luke Wright, right?
It really doesn't rhyme. She is wasted.
Or something. Can't really talk about it. I don't even know if I can trust you, even if G said you're clean. But anything would be of help.
Well, I don't gossip about my clients, if that's all there is to this.
You wanted to gossip about him a few minutes ago, Marianne.
And that was the beer talking, not Marianne.
You know what happens when you have new wallpaper that you need to put on a wall? You plaster it. Like this kind of plastered to this extreme.
You won't mind if we ask the beer a few questions then?
Maybe. Depends on who's asking and what they're asking. But seriously, that guy is abso-fucking-lutely frustrating. One moment, he's an absolute dickhead. And then he's acting like an actual decent human being the next. I just can't figure him out. I can't imagine how that pretty wife of his can put up with him. If I were her, I'd dump his flat arse straight up.
And I'm not just saying that because I think Hana's pretty or anything. Luke is a catch too. They both are. But I really cannot, for the love of all things holy, see how they even work out together.
So, Luke Wright, have you noticed anything strange about him while you were working with him? Anything peculiar? Of note?
You're the one being peachy right about now, Holmes. But nah, nothing that comes to mind off the top of my head. He's just like most rich, smarmy arseholes and then some.
A giggle bubbles up, and I press my cheek against the cool countertops with my eyes shut tight, just because. Eventually cracking when I open, just in case they thought I fell asleep, I grin at Holmes.
So, Holmes, I'm guessing you're some private detective or something. Is it Hannah? Did she pay you to look if he's been cheating or some such?
Hana's the wife, right? What about her? How's she?
How is she or how is she? Well and good. Definitely the nicer of the two and sexy as sin to boot.
You're talking too much, Marianne.
Not a private detective then. Are you from one of them tabloids wanting to know if the Luke Wright doesn't know how to put his pants on right? Pants. I'd take the pants off of...
Ah, here we go. Slipping. I haven't been this drunk in a long time. It's a miracle I've been coherent for as long as I have been right now.
I'm asking you if you've noticed any odd behavior from her.
Odd behavior? What? I wonder how she'd be drunk. I can just imagine her like the giggly sort. What do you think?
These are serious questions, Marianne. Lives might just be at stake here.
What do you expect? She's smashed.
Why am I even doing this? This is getting me nowhere, G. She's not a reliable source. The chief, let alone the courts, aren't going to take the word of a drunk. This will be dismissed, and I might be in trouble if they try to argue that I coerced a testimony out of her. This is a fucking train wreck.
Yeah, it is.
You're a fucking train wreck now, if you ask me.
Yeah, he is.
Maybe it's about time you apply the brakes and stop for a bit.
The wave of despair that comes over the both of them is palpable. If feelings had a taste, it'd be bitterer than the beer I'm full of. And it gets me thinking. Though thinking doesn't get me far with too much shite in my system.
You know that's not an option. Thanks for being patient, McCullough. Good luck with your work on that mansion.
Speaking of that mansion, there's something going on in that place. Something. As och day! No wonder Mr. Right likes it so much. It's as fishy as he is. Rotten bloke. Maybe that Santos girl is really onto something, eh? Suspicious shite, I'm telling ya. Explains why she's so reluctant.
What do you mean that Santos girl is onto something?
Before I get another word out, there's hands on my shoulders, and everything starts to spin. I quickly slap his hands away the best I can and send him the foulest look I can muster.
Take your hands off me, pipsqueak. I'm not a lady who's shaken or stirred unless you want me upchucking on your pretty hair. But it's just like I said. Are you sure you aren't brain damaged or deaf? Santos girl from BRC showed us this creepy letter. You know, just like those spam stuff you get in your emails. And we thought it was some joke or that the girl was just a bit too green to handle a big sale like that. You should have seen the look on their faces when they saw it. Whiskey, that's Luke fucking right, you get me. And the missus didn't look too happy either.
I think Marianne has just decided that that is his middle name.
I should have taken a picture and posted it everywhere. When rich snobs give you that face, no wonder the Santos girl went all mental on us. Working with them does that, you know? I think I'm about to. I'm not mental yet, am I? Anyway, just like I said, in that man... Hey, you okay? Holmes? You're looking a bit shaky yourself there.
And he really is pale. Paler than before, at least. I can see the gears turning in his head on overtime. Suddenly, he shoves a card in my hand. On it, his name, Ashton Frey, and his number. Is that a real number? There's no way, right? But he has second thoughts as he grabs it from me and slips it into his pocket.
You're cute, pretty boy. But I prefer blondies.
Well, you're not exactly my type either, lady. But listen to me. If something comes up, don't do anything rash. If you think you're in danger or if you see anything suspicious, call me and the authorities as soon as possible. You understand me? That's 99...
I know what the damn emergency number is.
Is it 999 in the UK? UK 999? Yeah, it's 999 in the UK. Also, European accepts 112. It's 911 in the US. That's what I thought. 999.
Right, 999. Good. Anyway, I have to run. See you, G.
The guy is quick on his feet, already up and at him as soon as the numbers leave his lips. Watching him as he maneuvers through the crowd of other pubgoers is enough to tire me out. Fast as he can, he's at the door and throws us a smile, and that's all we get before he's gone, just like that.
Oi, what about your drink, boy? I'll go put it on your tab then.
Holmes boy always like that, G?
Pretty much. But what about you? I suppose I'll put your drinks on your tab too. Don't want you to spill your wallets when you look like you're close to spilling yourself.
Yeah, and if it's fine by you, I think I'll go take a bit of a cat nap here. Just for a sec or two.
Go right ahead. I'll wake you when I close up shop.
This is a good bartender. I like him. Achievement unlocked. Swimming in cocktails. Mumbling a sleepy thanks, I doze off on the spot, face pressed on the counter, snoring in my earphones. Already I dread the pain I'll have for sleeping in such a position. But when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is.
Not that I can get much sleep to begin with. Do people ever have that feeling that they're working on something they really enjoy, but still it eventually tires them out? All the time. Because honestly, I've been feeling like this.
You have certainly exceeded expectations, Marianne. Everything looks so marvelous, and in such a short time, too.
Though moments like these make all the hard work worth it. Definitely.
Well, I can't take all of the credit. People have certainly been enthusiastic about the idea of working on the Wright mansion. There won't be any more problems unless Mr. Wright has any more objections about the second bedroom.
Oh, no. We proceed with that room as planned. I already agreed to him having his greenhouse and his vineyard and his stables. He may as well let me have this one thing.
We're only about halfway done, but the honest satisfaction on a client's face is enough for me to push through. Let's face it, in between my exasperation at Mr. Wright's antics and her, I've been burning the candles at both ends. I can't even close my eyes without seeing a dead girl's face. Dead girl. Dead. She's dead. I have to keep reminding myself that, burying my feelings as deep as they've buried her body, 6 feet under. I shouldn't waste so much time on someone who's supposed to be gone. I've wasted so many years thinking about her already. There should be no need to bother myself with the dead when I should be bothering myself with the living. Too bad the living are usually as complicated, if not more, than ghosts of the past.
But don't you have a party?
Yes. But Luke's just being a sweetie, you see. That friend he's visiting, he's having marital problems and he's just trying to cheer him up.
It's even more complicated when the living in question is a pair of rich and famous socialites way past their honeymoon phase. And I've been somehow roped into being a relationship counselor.
They've been married for a long time and they've hit how do they say it? A rough patch. His wife has a drinking problem and can be very neglectful. The poor thing really does his best to be a good husband. But it's never enough for her. Sometimes I think it's the years. Maybe it's been so long that they've lost that romantic spark. What do you think?
Perhaps it has been the years, perhaps not. It might just be the little things that have built up all this time. But in any case, with things like these, I've seen couples take time apart just to cool off. Sometimes they get back together in the end with lighter hearts, and sometimes they don't get back together at all.
Yeah, we did have this exact conversation from Hannah's end. Okay.
What if I said the couple are very public figures? They wouldn't want to take time apart unless it was really necessary. They wouldn't want people to talk.
Well, that's a load of guff. Not to mention that makes them a bit thick, doesn't it? Forget about what other people say. That's their relationship and they should do what's best for them.
Why she thinks a single woman like me would be the best source of relationship advice is beyond me. Still, I talk and answer to the best of my abilities. Without realizing it, I'm already pouring out a part of me that I thought was long gone. I'd like to believe my words will be of some help to Mrs. Wright. If I'm honest, though, they are of some help to me, like some weight that has been taken off my shoulders. Lorraine.
I really should handle what's left of the work.
You won't be attending the party? Oh, you really must, Marianne.
The weight of what happened to her hasn't left me yet, has it? Maybe.
I'll try to stay in chat. Maybe grab a few bites and a drink, but I can't be around for the entirety of the event. My apologies. Busy, busy, busy.
must stay a while. I'd love for you to meet some of my friends, and they're ever so excited to meet you. You need to say hello to the Lees, at least. If it wasn't for them, I'd never even heard of you.
Maybe it's about time I changed that.
We'll see. So, if Foy can be excused?
Certainly. You'll have to excuse me as well. I must attend to the party before any early birds arrive. Because, believe me, they will throw a fuss if things aren't ready, even when they're not supposed to be here until an hour later.
Though I shouldn't dwell on the dead, I shouldn't just callously forget about them too. Saying that I have work left to do is an easy enough excuse to make. I know how other people see me. They see someone so obsessed with her craft that she would so easily miss things like a party for it. Outside the parlor, people hurry about here and there in preparation for the Wright's grand housewarming party. None spare me a glance as I slip past them, each working on their appointed roles and not daring to slack off while they work for what is probably the most powerful couple in Luxbourne. I make it into the kitchen with ease, the wine cellar being my final destination. But when is a great task ever simple? Probably never. And this is a great task, isn't it? My greatest one yet, that is worthy of being called a quest. I'm not acting as Marianne McCulloch, the professional interior designer, when I chose to lie about being too busy for a party. I'm Marianne McCulloch, a lawful neutral cleric with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in charisma. Just thinking of it like that makes it a bit cheesy, but it helps with the fear. It helps overcome the insane thought that I'm actively seeking out something that has been plaguing me for years. I might face my worst nightmare, or I might see nothing and find my self-imagined grand quest fall flat. And who would have thought that the gatekeeper to my final quest would be someone I thought to be a valuable ally?
Schnell! Hurry up, you snails! We are on a deadline and you are wasting my time!
The butler comes from the cellar and into the kitchen, tailed by a couple of others, people who I assume are most likely chefs and bartenders. He raises a brow, seeing me just standing there by the hatch by the trap door. It almost looks like he's going to throw me out for being in the kitchen without permission. But then he motions for the others to disperse and familiarize themselves with their surroundings. Meanwhile, he continues to stand there, preventing entry into the darkness beyond.
What are you doing here, Fraulein? This is not the place for guests or in an architect right now. I request you leave.
I was just looking around for any last-minute things, yes?
Yes, you have been doing that a lot. Looking around, snooping about. Now is not the time for such things. If you're not careful, people might think you are up to something.
The look he gives me as he says this is almost chilling. If life was a game book, he'd probably be the true neutral warlock guarding the treasure room. A difficult opponent to beat with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in dexterity.
Well, I'm not done yet. I actually need to go into the wine cellar. Just need a quick go at the place. So, just don't mind me. I'll be out of your hair soon enough.
Go outside, enjoy the party. Bask in the praise and adulation they will no doubt shower you with when the madam speaks highly of you. Surely you've had enough of this stuffy old kitchen by now. You do not want to cause trouble. Both the Bratwurst and Hannah want this to be perfect. It would be a disservice and a disrespect to toe out of line and risk it being anything otherwise. And more importantly, I will be blamed for any failure that happens tonight.
I kind of am on his side, I won't lie. His intervention almost turns me away. Maybe this is a sign I'm not meant to seek Lorraine out. But...
Please, it's really important.
15 minutes. 9, 10 minutes. Any longer and I'll pull you out of there myself. The Bratwurst will be furious if he thinks anyone is touching his precious wine without his permission.
Thank you. This seriously means a lot.
He steps aside, begrudgingly. At this point, it looks like there's no turning back. The cellar greets me ominously as I descend. The space feels smaller, with a lot more bottles lining the wall compared to before, and knowing what might be waiting for me here makes things worse. Oh, this is our first time seeing the cellar, actually, and yep, there's the mirror at the end of it, right there. The mirror that had been moved from the study is my goal. I did not return to it after my initial discovery, but the thought of Lorraine, how much I want to see her again, even if it's just for one more time, keeps coming back to mind. As I walk through the cellar, I have to stop when I feel something crunch beneath my feet. Whatever few bottles were left behind here are now nothing but glass under my heels. Perhaps dropped by one of the many chefs and bartenders the butler had escorted through here before. And it made a downright mess, with red slick pooling from the remains of a good drink. With how dark this place is, a person with a dark enough imagination could easily mistake it for blood. I can't help but think it is, despite the easy, logical explanation that had come to my mind, only because of what I'm about to do. It's merely a momentary distraction as I continue to the end of the cellar where the mirror stands. Propped up on the far wall, it gleams innocently while pretending to be a simple and ordinary mirror. How morbid to think this thing can show a person their deepest, most desperate desires, and then twists it to an image so dark. That's what I had seen that day. Though I had heard Lorraine many times, I had only seen her here within its frame. I wonder if people have discovered it before. How many were wasted away in front of it, enamored, and how many were frightened away by what they saw? Yet as I stand before it now, nothing. I can barely see my own reflection in the darkness.
How does this even work? Mirror, mirror on the wall? Something? Anything?
Nothing. Touching its surface doesn't make it magically activate or anything like that. There's no sudden surge of power, and I am not suddenly granted sight. It stays what it is, a mirror. Was Lorraine's appearance in that mirror all some sort of fever dream? Am I really that burdened with guilt and despair that my mind would eat itself in my stress and have me hallucinate such things? Either way, just going here on some crazed obsession for a girl long gone must warrant me a trip to the doctor. Already I feel ill. After a few more minutes in the hopes of something would change, I turn around to leave. I could just go back upstairs like nothing ever happened, perhaps drop by the party for some hors d'oeuvres, and then go home and collect myself. Besides, Mrs. Wright is expecting me and I'm...
Going to leave me again then, are you?
I stop in my tracks, but I don't turn back. As much as it pains me, I don't look back. If I'm just hearing her again, desperately delusional, and I look back to see nothing, I don't want to give myself false hope. But when I feel fingers around my wrist pull at me, I look back in shock. My first thought is, how in God's name is this possible? And the second is, Lorraine. Her hands are cold.
Are you that mad at me that you're just going to ignore me, Marianne?
I don't know what to say, and I can only stare at her in wonder. She stands there in the mirror with only her arm extended outward for my sake. I look at the hand still holding my wrist, and when she sees me looking at it, she moves it so that our hands are intertwined, fingers weaved together. Seeing her there and feeling her touch meant I'm not crazy, though however impossible and unexplainable this is all to me right now, it just takes my breath away. Pulling her out from there is tempting. I can imagine doing so with ease. We could be together again, Lorraine and Marianne, like nothing had ever happened. But that would be a great big lie, wouldn't it?
What? Pack out your tongue? Don't just look at me like that. Say something.
Even if this thing were some magical portal that could bring back the dead, that doesn't erase anything. Just looking at her, still a young teenager, while I'm already a grown woman, it serves no other reason than to break the illusion that blinds me. I've seen her twice now, always behind the mirror. If this is real, if this isn't some delusion, then why can she only exist behind the glass?
Yeah. You have no idea how happy I am to see you. It's been so long.
You don't look happy.
I really am happy. But at the same time, I can't help but think about what happened. To you.
And what does that mean? What are you saying?
She gives me this peculiar look. And before my eyes, she moves to step out of the mirror. In turn, I wrench my hand from her and take a step back, almost as if I'm afraid.
I don't know how this is possible. But whatever this is, it isn't real. You can't be real.
I'm right here, aren't I? What other proof do you need?
No, I see you. I hear you. I feel you. But even with all that, you can't be real. You just can't. I saw your body. I helped bury you. You're dead.
A deep hurt crosses her face, and it just breaks my heart in two seeing her wear that expression.
Burying me wasn't the only thing you did. Don't you dare lie. But I'm going to be the bigger woman, aren't I? Let bygones be bygones. I'll forgive you, as long as you stay with me, Marianne. That's why you came down here, right? To find me?
That was the plan. I came down here looking for her, for closure. But this isn't just closure. This is something else entirely. I didn't think I'd be forced to make such a choice. Do I leave? Or do I stay? I save the game. Save again. Because that brings today's episode to an end. God, both of these suck. I probably will end up choosing I Want to Stay, but I'll be doing that next Sunday when I continue my playthrough of The Letter. Physical copies are shipping now, so if you want one for yourself of this game on Switch, head over to PlayAsia and buy one out. And yeah, we are all set. Yeah, so that pretty much brings today's stream to an end. I'll be back Tuesday to play something else. Until then, on behalf of East Asia Soft, I have been Skull. Have yourselves a great day and a great week, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.